Millionaire refused to help a crying girl until he saw her birthmark. The rain had just started when Nathan Caldwell stepped out of the gleaming glass tower that bore his name, Caldwell Enterprises. A black umbrella hovered above him, held by his assistant who trailed behind him like a shadow. The city bustled as always, horns blaring, lights flashing, the sidewalk shimmering from the fresh downpour. Nathan, in his $1,000 suit, barely registered the people passing by. To him, they were static, figures in a painting he no longer cared to examine. He was about to enter the waiting limousine when a sound cut through the chaos, soft sobbing. It came from the edge of the alley beside the building. Nathan's steps slowed. He turned slightly, eyes narrowing. There, huddled beneath a piece of cardboard, was a little girl, soaked to the bone, probably no older than 6. Her cheeks were smeared with tears and dirt, her clothes ragged and thin. She was clutching something, perhaps a doll or a piece of cloth, and crying into it quietly like someone used to being ignored. Nathan paused. His assistant hesitated beside him, confused. "Mr. Caldwell?" the driver asked, already holding the door open. Nathan lowered at the girl again, heart untouched. "Let's go," he muttered, stepping into the car. The door closed. The limousine pulled away from the curb. The girl remained. Inside the vehicle, Nathan stared out the window, his jaw tight. He hated scenes like that. He told himself it was better not to get involved. Charity was a business expense, not a moral duty. He supported dozens of children's organizations already, on paper at least. That was enough. But as the car rolled down the avenue, the girl's image lingered. Later that evening, he couldn't shake it. Alone in his penthouse, with the rain still tapping the tall windows, Nathan poured himself a glass of whiskey. He sat by the fire, flicking through reports, trying to focus, but his mind kept drifting back, to the girl's eyes, wide and terrified, and that strange thing she'd clutched so tightly. Was it a blanket? A scarf? A memory stirred. Faint. Dusty. His hand froze halfway to his drink. Suddenly he stood up and walked to the window. The city lights stretched below him like constellations, but he wasn't seeing them. He was seeing a hospital room, a woman screaming in labor, a child born too soon. A little girl with a mark just below her collarbone. Nathan's chest tightened. No, it couldn't be, it was impossible, but something in him wouldn't let go of the image. He grabbed his coat. The elevator ride down from his penthouse felt endless. Nathan tapped his foot, fists clenched in his coat pockets. He hadn't thought of her in years. He had made sure of it. That chapter had been sealed, buried beneath a mountain of silence and signatures. And yet, tonight in the pouring rain, a ghost from his past had found him on the street, sobbing in a cardboard shelter. He didn't even know where to begin lowing. He had no name, no direction, only the image of a little girl soaked through and a single haunting memory. A birthmark, shaped like a crescent moon just under the left collarbone. As the elevator doors opened and the lobby unfolded before him in marble and gold, Nathan hesitated. He lowed out into the night. Rain still fell in sheets. He turned to the concierge. "There was a girl," he said abruptly, "by the alley earlier today. Do you know if anyone saw where she went?" The concierge blinked, startled. "A girl, sir." Nathan's tone sharpened. "Small, about 6, wet, crying. She was sitting just outside the building." The man shook his head. "I'm sorry, sir. I haven't seen anyone like that." Frustration surged through Nathan. He stalked outside, rain immediately drenching his shoulders. The alley was quiet now, empty. The cardboard piece was gone, the puddles undisturbed. She had vanished. He searched the area, circling the block once, twice. He checked with a security guard stationed at a nearby cafe, asked a homeless woman who sat under an awning if she'd seen the girl. Nothing. Just as he was about to give up, a voice called out behind him. "She was here," said the woman. Nathan turned sharply. The woman, wrapped in layers of scarves, pointed to the alley. "The girl, crying, yeah, pretty one. Big brown eyes. She ran off when a man came yelling." Nathan's blood ran cold. "What man?" "Scruffy, angry. Called her a thief. Said she stole something. The woman scowled. Didn't seem like her daddy, if you ask me. Which way did they go? The woman gestured vaguely. Toward the bus terminal. She was limping a little, load-scared. Nathan didn't wait to thank her. He was already running. At the terminal, he scanned every bench, every face. People milled about, damp and irritated, huddling under the flickering lights. He spotted a janitor and described the girl. The man nodded slowly. She was here, crying again, hiding behind that pillar. Then she left with some guy, load rough, yelled at her in public. People stared. Nathan's stomach turned. He followed the direction the janitor pointed. Then he saw her. Half a block away, just under a flickering street lamp, the girl stood frozen beside a man shouting at someone on the phone. Her arms were crossed tightly. Her small body shivered in the rain. And just as she turned slightly, Nathan saw it, the crescent moon birthmark peeking from beneath the neckline of her torn shirt. His heart stopped. Nathan didn't breathe. He couldn't. The world narrowed to that single image, her tiny frame beneath the rain, the unmistakable crescent birthmark. It wasn't just similar. It was identical. The same mark that had been inked into his memory the moment she was born. The same one the doctors had pointed out when they placed her in his arms for the first and last time. And now here she was. But how? Before he could move, the man beside her grabbed her roughly by the arm, yanking her forward. She stumbled, almost falling, and whimpered faintly. Nathan's instincts exploded. He surged forward without thinking. "Hey!" he shouted, striding across the slick pavement. "Let her go!" The man turned, startled, squinting through the rain. He was tall, hunched, with stringy hair and a crowed nose. His clothes were damp and torn, and he reeked of desperation. "Who the hell are you?" the man barked. Nathan didn't stop. He was at them in seconds, standing between the girl and the man, his body a shield. I said, "Let her go." The girl stared up at Nathan, her lips parted, eyes wide with something between fear and awe. The man scoffed, pulling her arm again. "She's mine. Back off." Nathan's voice turned steel. "She's not yours." The man sneered. "You rich types think you can just—" Nathan pulled out his wallet and tossed a wad of cash onto the wet ground. "Take it. Walk away. Don't low back." The man lowed down at the bills, torn between greed and confusion. He hesitated. Nathan to the girl's hand gently. "Come with me," he whispered. She flinched at first, then nodded slowly. The man lunged, but Nathan stepped forward, his tone low and dangerous. "Touch her again, and I swear." But the man backed off, cursing. He snatched the cash from the ground and disappeared into the night, muttering. Nathan knelt beside the girl. "What's your name?" he asked softly. She lowered at him, silent. "It's I. You're safe now." Still, she didn't speak. Nathan reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a handkerchief, gently drying her face. As he did, she winced, revealing the mark again. He couldn't stop staring. "Where's your mother?" he asked gently. The girl lowered her eyes. "She died." The words landed like a blow. Nathan swallowed. "How old are you?" She held up 6 fingers. 6. The same number of years since that hospital room, since she was taken, since her mother disappeared without a trace. Nathan's voice cracked. Do you know your name?" She hesitated. "Lily." His chest caved in. Lily. That was the name he and Isabella had chosen, before everything fell apart. He to a shaky breath. "Lily. Do you know your father's name?" She blinked. "I don't have one." Nathan stared at her, his throat closing. "Yes," he whispered, "you do." Nathan stood there in the rain, the city pulsing faintly around them, as the girl, his daughter, stared at him with wide, uncertain eyes. The street lamp above flickered, casting shadows across her small, delicate face. He could see traces of Isabella in her cheekbones, in the curve of her mouth. But her eyes, those were his. He didn't know what to say. For a man who closed million-dollar deals with a single breath, who commanded boardrooms and dictated empires, words now failed him completely. "Lily," he said again, the name tasting like regret and hope. My name is Nathan. She nodded slowly, still holding tightly to the piece of cloth she'd been clinging to earlier. Now that he was closer, he saw it was a worn scarf, faded pink with small embroidered stars. It looked familiar. Where do you live? He asked gently. She glanced in the direction the man had gone, then lowed away. Nowhere. Nathan's heart shattered. Did that man hurt you? She didn't answer, but her silence said enough. He placed a hand lightly on her shoulder. You don't have to go back with him. I won't let anyone hurt you. Still, she didn't speak. Her gaze lingered on his face as if trying to read him. You're cold, he said. Let's get you somewhere warm, eh? She nodded. Nathan hailed a cab. He didn't want the formality of his limousine. Something about this moment felt too raw for marble interiors and suited drivers. They climbed in, the heat blasting, as the driver asked for a destination. My building, Nathan said, not lowing away from Lily. Penthouse level. As they rode through the city, Nathan kept glancing at her, each low peeling back more layers of disbelief. She sat quietly, cradling the scarf in her lap, occasionally wiping her nose with the back of her hand. How long have you been on the streets? He asked. A while. Did you know the man? She shrugged. He said I could stay with him, but then he got mean. Nathan's jaw clenched. I'm sorry. You should never have gone through that. She lowed at him then, voice small. Why are you helping me? He hesitated. Because I think I'm your father, because I let you be taken, because I failed you and your mother, because I've never stopped wondering what happened that day. I don't know, he said aloud softly. I couldn't leave you there. She nodded like she understood more than a 6-year-old should. When they arrived at the tower, the doorman looked surprised, but opened the doors without question. Nathan led Lily through the marble lobby, into the elevator, and up to the penthouse. Inside, the warmth was overwhelming. She blinked at the high ceilings, the glowing fireplace, the floor-to-ceiling windows that overlooked the skyline. This is your home? She asked. He nodded. She looked around in awe. It's really pretty. Nathan smiled faintly. You can stay here tonight. As long as you want, actually. She turned slowly. Do you know my mommy? She asked. Nathan froze. The question echoed in the cavernous room, louder than any sound he had heard that night. He looked down at her, so small, so fragile, and felt the weight of 6 years crash into his chest. Do you know my mommy? He nodded slowly, his voice rough. Yes, I knew her very well. Lily tilted her head. Was she your friend? He hesitated. The truth was tangled, painful, buried under years of silence and shame. She was more than that. We loved each other. Once. Lily's eyes sparkled, full of curiosity and sadness. She used to sing to me, at night, before she got sick. Nathan sat down on the edge of the velvet couch, motioning for her to join him. She climbed up beside him carefully, still clutching the scarf. What happened to her? He asked, gently. She lowed down. She got tired, real tired. One day she couldn't get out of bed. The lady she worked for called someone, and then she didn't come back. Nathan's stomach dropped. Did anyone help you? She shook her head. They said I had to go, that I didn't belong there. So I left. He was quiet for a long moment, swallowing hard. Did she ever tell you about me? Lily shook her head again. No, just that my daddy was somewhere far away, and that he loved the stars. Nathan blinked, fighting emotion. Isabella used to say that. You always have your head in the stars, Nathan, she used to tease. But one day you'll come back to Earth. For her. Lily's voice brought into his thoughts. I kept her scarf, she said, showing it to him. It still smells like her sometimes. He reached out and touched it gently. I remember it. She wore it all the time, even in summer. They sat in silence for a while. Then Lily asked, Why didn't you come find us? Nathan's heart cracked wide open. He looked her in the eyes. I tried. But I was too late. People lied. Things got complicated. I made mistakes. She nodded slowly, like she didn't fully understand. But maybe part of her did. I missed her every day, he whispered, and I never stopped thinking about you. Lily leaned against his arm. Are you my daddy? The words hit like lightning. He wrapped an arm around her shoulders, tentative but protective. Yes, he said. I believe I am. She was quiet. Then, in a whisper, she asked, Do you want me now? Nathan shut his eyes. More than anything. Yes, he said, his voice shaking. Yes, I do. She curled into him, small and tired. He held her close as the fire crackled beside them. But just as he felt peace for the first time in years, the elevator dinged. A woman's voice echoed from the hall. Nathan Caldwell, you have a lot to explain. Nathan stood up instinctively, his heart leaping into his throat as Lily clutched the edge of his sleeve. The voice from the hall was unmistakable, sharp, commanding, and all too familiar. He turned slowly as the penthouse door swung open, revealing a woman in a soaked trench coat, her eyes blazing with fury and disbelief. Vanessa? Nathan said, stunned. She stepped inside without waiting for an invitation. Her heels clicked against the polished floors as she crossed the room like a storm in motion. Raindrops trailed behind her, glistening like ice on the marble tiles. I called you 3 times, she snapped. You ignored all of them. He started. I know where you were, she said, cutting him off. Her eyes flicked to Lily. With her. Nathan moved instinctively between them. She's not, Vanessa, this is not what you think. Oh, I think it's exactly what I think, she shot back. You disappear in the middle of the night, and now you're suddenly a good Samaritan to a child on the street, and she just happens to have your eyes. Nathan's voice dropped tight with warning. Lower your voice. Lily shrank slightly behind him. Vanessa crossed her arms. What, am I supposed to pretend this isn't insane? You bring a stray child into your home and tell me nothing. She's not a stray, Nathan said quietly. Vanessa blinked. Then who is she? He to a breath. Her name is Lily. She's 6 years old, and I believe she's my daughter. The silence was deafening. Vanessa's eyes widened, her mouth parting in disbelief. That's not possible. You told me I thought she was gone. I was told she and her mother left the country. I searched, but they vanished. Vanessa to a shaky step back. And now all of a sudden she just shows up on the street? Nathan nodded slowly. It doesn't make sense. But the birthmark, her name, Isabella's scarf. Vanessa, I know it's her. Vanessa turned to Lily, studying her with a new, conflicted intensity. Lily stared back, silent, her small hand still clutching Nathan's coat. Why didn't you tell me you had a daughter? Vanessa asked, quieter now. Nathan's shoulders sagged. Because I didn't know, not for sure, and when I met you, I was trying to start over. Vanessa laughed bitterly. Of course you were. I'm not asking you to understand, he said, but I am asking you to give me time. I have to figure out what happened, why she ended up like this, who that man was. Vanessa glanced at Lily again, then back at Nathan. And what about us? Nathan lowed at Lily, then back at Vanessa. I don't know yet. Vanessa turned slowly toward the door. Well, when you figure it out, let me know. She left without another word. Nathan exhaled, turning to Lily. She looked up at him, confused but calm. Who was that lady? She asked. He sat down beside her again. Someone I used to care about. Is she mad because of me? Nathan shook his head. No, sweetheart, this isn't your fault. But in his chest he felt the first tremor of everything starting to fall apart. The morning light crept in slowly, turning the skyline gold and rose as the city yawned awake. Nathan sat at the edge of his bed, staring into the empty space beyond the glass. He hadn't slept. Too many memories had clawed their way back to the surface, too many questions without answers. Down the hall, Lily slept soundly in the guest room, curled beneath a thick blanket, the pink scarf tucked beside her cheek like a treasure. He rose finally and walked to the kitchen, making coffee with trembling hands. The machine hissed softly, filling the silence with a mechanical hum. As he waited, he pulled out his phone and scrolled through contacts. Most were useless now. But there was one name he hadn't touched in years: Isabella Marin. The number was disconnected. He sighed and dropped the phone on the counter. She had vanished without a trace. And now somehow her daughter was here, half-starved and left to strangers. The woman he once planned to marry wouldn't have let that happen unless something had gone terribly wrong. Nathan knew he had to dig deeper. Hours later, he made calls. To an old private investigator he once trusted, to hospitals, to shelters, to anyone who might remember a woman named Isabella who fell through the cracks 6 years ago. Nothing. Or rather, nothing yet. By the time Lily wandered into the living room rubbing sleep from her eyes, Nathan had already cleared a place at the breakfast table. "Hey there," he said gently. She yawned. "Morning." "I made pancakes." Her eyes lit up. "Really?" He smiled. "Really?" As she ate, he watched her, so polite, so careful, every bite small and deliberate, like she was afraid it might disappear. "Lily," he said softly, "do you remember the last place you lived? With your mommy?" She nodded. "It was near a park. We used to go there after she worked. I liked the swings." "What did she do for work?" "She cleaned houses, big ones." Nathan jotted that down. "And do you remember anyone else? Someone nice?" She thought for a moment. "Miss Ramona. She gave me a koi once. Mommy didn't like her very much." Nathan lowered up. "Do you know her last name?" She shook her head. "Just Miss Ramona." Still, it was something. He stood and crouched beside her. "I want to help you, Lily. Find out what happened to your mom. Would that be a—" She nodded, her big brown eyes watching him closely. "I think she would want that too," she whispered. He felt a tightness in his throat. "Yeah, I think she would." Just then, his phone buzzed. "Unknown number," he answered. "Nathan Caldwell." A gruff voice sped on the other end. "You're lowing into Isabella Marin." Nathan froze. "Who is this?" "You need to stop asking questions. Some people don't like the past being dug up." Before Nathan could respond, the line went dead. Nathan stood frozen in the kitchen, phone still pressed to his ear long after the call had ended. The warning echoed in his head like a gunshot. Someone didn't want Isabella's past uncovered, and that meant there was a past, something deeper, darker than abandonment or tragedy. Someone had buried the truth. He turned slowly to find Lily looking at him from the table, her fork paused mid-air. "Was that about Mommy?" she asked quietly. Nathan forced a smile. "Maybe. I'll let you know if it's something important, all right?" She nodded, clearly sensing more than he wanted to reveal. After breakfast, Nathan walked her into the media room, put on one of the animated films stored on his home server, and wrapped her in a soft throw blanket. "I'll be in the next room if you need anything," he said. Then he returned to his office, locking the door behind him. He called the private investigator again. "I just got a warning. Anonymous caller. Said to stop asking questions about Isabella." There was silence on the other end. "That means you're getting close," the investigator said finally. "I've got a lead. There's a record of a Ramona Delacroix, cleaning supervisor at a property in Westchester 6 years ago. The house belonged to a retired judge. Name's Eugene Reinsfield." Nathan blinked. "Reinsfield? That's familiar." "It should be," the PI replied. "He ruled on your custody case." Nathan's chest tightened. "You're telling me Isabella worked for the man who denied me access to my daughter?" "That's what it looks like." Nathan stood slowly, anger rising like a tide. "Get me everything you can on him, now." He hung up and stared out the window again, piecing it all together. Isabella had vanished with their child not long after that ruling. She'd worked under the nose of the very man who had ruled against Nathan. Coincidence? Not likely. He pulled up articles on Judge Reinsfield. The man had retired quietly, a well-respected figure, but Nathan remembered the tension in the courtroom. The bias. The way Rainsfield had lowered at Isabella, almost protectively. At the time, Nathan had assumed it was old-fashioned sympathy. Now he wasn't so sure. He returned to the living room, sat beside Lily and tried to act normal, but questions burned behind his smile. Later that afternoon, while Lily napped, Nathan made another call. One to a name he hadn't spent in years, Olivia Marks, Isabella's best friend in college. To his surprise, she answered, "Olivia, it's Nathan Caldwell." Dead silence. "Before you hang up, please, I found Lily." Another pause, then her voice shaken. "Oh my God, is she A?" "She is, but Isabella, she's gone. And I think someone helped make her disappear. Maybe more than one person." Olivia hesitated. "You need to come see me. There's something you should know." "Something Isabella told me. Before everything went wrong." Nathan's blood chilled. "I'm on my way." The address Olivia gave him was in Brolin, a modest brownstone tucked between rows of ivy-covered buildings. Nathan hadn't been to this part of the city in years, but something about it felt grounding, real. As his driver pulled up to the curb, he glanced at his reflection in the car window. He looked older, more weathered than he remembered. Olivia opened the door before he could knock. Her face was a pale echo of the girl he remembered, tired eyes, streaks of grey in her hair, but still unmistakably her. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then she stepped aside. "Come in." Nathan entered the warm, dim apartment. The scent of tea and old paper hung in the air. Boss lined every shelf, and a photo of Isabella sat on a nearby table, smiling, radiant, frozen in time. "She never stopped loving you," Olivia said softly, following his gaze. Nathan lowed down. "Then why did she leave?" Olivia motioned to the couch and they both sat. "She didn't want to. After the custody hearing, she was devastated. She said the judge, Rainsfield, warned her, said if she stayed close to you, she'd lose Lily." Nathan stared at her. "What?" "He told her she was unstable, that your influence, your wealth, your control would take Lily away from her. So he offered her a deal, disappear quietly, and no one would come after her. He even gave her a job in his household." Nathan's voice was a whisper. "He blackmailed her." Olivia nodded. "Isabella hated it. She wanted to tell you, but she was scared. Said if anyone found out she'd defied the court, she might lose custody anyway. So she stayed silent." Nathan's hands balled into fists. "He used the system to manipulate her, and when she got sick, she tried to get help, but without insurance, without ID, she was invisible. I only found out after it was too late." Nathan felt the weight of her words pressing into his chest. "She died alone. She died afraid, but her last request was for me to keep trying to find you. She made me promise that if Lily ever needed help, if something ever happened, I would tell you the truth." Nathan's eyes burned. "Thank you for keeping that promise." Olivia nodded. "You found her just in time. She's stronger than you think, but she's been through hell." Nathan stood. "I'm not going to let anyone take her again. Not the courts, not that judge, no one." Olivia walked him to the door. "There's one more thing." She handed him a sealed envelope, yellowed at the edges. "I never opened it, but she wrote it the week before she died. It's addressed to you." Nathan to it slowly, the weight of it heavier than anything he'd held in years. "She wanted you to know the whole truth." He looked down at the handwriting on the envelope. "To Nathan, in case you ever find her." Nathan stood in Olivia's doorway, the envelope in his hand heavy as lead. For a moment he just stared at it, wondering what was inside, wondering if he was ready to face whatever truth it held. His heart was racing, 1,000 thoughts clashing against each other. He had spent years assuming the worst, thinking Isabella had abandoned him. But now, this was different. The weight of the secrets she had carried, the life she had built in the shadows, all of it felt like it was shifting, falling into place. He breathed a seal. Inside was a single sheet of paper, folded neatly. His name was written on the top, in Isabella's familiar handwriting. "Nathan, if you're reading this, I'm gone. I'm sorry. For everything. For not telling you what was happening sooner. For not trusting you enough to fight for us." Nathan swallowed hard as he read on. The words felt like a dagger, cutting through the years of bitterness he had carried with him. I did what I thought was right, but it was never really about what was right, was it? I was afraid of losing Lily, afraid of you losing her, afraid of what would happen if we didn't disappear, and I hate myself for it because I know I've hurt you, and I've hurt her. I know you're angry, and you should be, but I want you to understand something. When I left, it wasn't because I didn't love you. It was because I loved Lily more than anything in this world, and I thought if I stayed, they'd take her from me. I thought if I didn't leave, she'd never be safe. Nathan's breath caught in his throat. He had thought for so long that Isabella's leaving had been a betrayal. But now, reading this, he could see the depth of her sacrifice, how every decision she had made had been wrapped in fear, fear of losing their daughter, fear of a system that had already failed them both. There's something you need to know about Lily, something I couldn't protect her from. She's not just your daughter, Nathan. She's also his. Nathan's heart stopped. His. The man who was behind everything, the judge who signed our fate, the man who threatened me. He's her father too. The truth, Nathan, is that Lily is your daughter, and she's his. The words swam in front of his eyes. He couldn't process them, couldn't grasp the enormity of what she had written. Judge Eugene Reinsfield, the man who had ruined his life, the man who had forced Isabella to disappear, was more than just a villain in this story. He was connected to them in a way that defied reason. He was Lily's father. But why? Why would Isabella hide something like this from him? Nathan's hand trembled as he finished reading. I didn't want you to know, not because I didn't trust you, but because I was afraid. Afraid of what would happen to us if we brought him into our lives. He's dangerous. I know that now. But I never wanted you to carry that weight. I just wanted to protect her. I just wanted to keep you safe. But now that you're here, Nathan, please, I beg of you, find the truth. Find the people who hurt us, and take care of our daughter. The letter ended abruptly. There were no more words, no more explanations, just a sense of finality. Nathan stood still, unable to move, the paper clenched in his hand. The truth was clearer now, but it was also more complicated than he could have imagined. Isabella had been running from Reinsfield, hiding her daughter from a man who had been pulling the strings all along. And now Lily was caught in the middle of it all. Nathan loaded the envelope one last time before crumpling it and throwing it into the fireplace. As the paper caught flame, he knew one thing for sure. He wasn't going to stop, not until he had the whole truth. And not until he brought down the man who had destroyed their lives. Nathan returned to the penthouse just after sunset, his body numb but his mind on fire. Lily was sitting cross-legged on the floor, drawing with colored pencils he had bought her earlier that day. The television played softly in the background, forgotten. She lowered up when he came in, and for a moment her whole face lit up. "You're back!" He knelt beside her and smiled, though it didn't quite reach his eyes. "I told you I'd be." She held up her drawing. It was a picture of them, stick figures standing under a star-filled sky. One tall, one small, with big smiles. A house behind them, a scarf wrapped around the little girl's neck. He to the picture carefully, his throat tightening. "This is beautiful." "I made it for you," she said proudly, "so you don't forget." "I could never forget you," he whispered. As she returned to her crayons, Nathan stood and walked into the study. He closed the door and immediately called the private investigator. "I read the letter," he said, voice low. "There's more." "What do you mean?" "Reinsfield wasn't just behind the custody decision. He may have fathered Lily." A long silence. "That changes everything," the PI said. "If true, it's not just corruption. It's abuse, coercion, blackmail. He used the law to cover it all." "I want proof," Nathan said. "Anything. Paternity documents, records, anything Isabella may have left behind." "I'll dig, but you need to be careful. Reinsfield still has friends, powerful ones." "I don't care," Nathan snapped. "He took everything from me. Now I'm going to take everything from him." After the call, Nathan paced the room, his thoughts circling like hawks. The judge's betrayal went deeper than he had imagined. The implications were sickening. Had Isabella been coerced into silence not just by fear, but by something far worse? Had she been used, manipulated into bearing the child of the man who ruled their fate? He couldn't ask her now, but maybe someone else could answer. He turned back to Olivia's envelope, now only ashes in the fireplace, and remembered the name she'd mentioned in passing, Ramona. The supervisor Isabella had worked under, the one she hadn't trusted. He called the PI again. "Find Ramona Delacroix. She's the key." Hours passed before the call came back. "We've got her, still in Westchester, lives alone, works part-time at a care facility. I've set up a meeting." Nathan didn't wait. He told Lily he had to run an errand and arranged for his housekeeper to stay with her. Then he drove, hands tight on the wheel, rage simmering just beneath the surface. He reached the small house just after 8. Ramona answered the door, wearing a faded sweater and slippers. Her eyes narrowed the moment she saw him. "I was told not to talk to you," she said. Nathan held up his phone. "Then maybe you'll talk to my lawyer or the police, your choice." She hesitated. "I'm not here to make threats," he said. "I just want to know the truth, about Isabella, about Lily, and about the man who ruined all our lives." Her expression flickered. Something cracked. "You better come in," she said softly. Ramona's house was small but tidy, filled with the scent of old lavender and dust. Nathan stepped inside cautiously, eyes scanning the living room for signs of the past, anything that might tie Isabella to this place, to this woman. Ramona moved slowly, her back slightly hunched, her eyes darting between him and the windows, as if she feared being watched. She gestured toward the worn sofa. "Sit." He did. She sat across from him in an old recliner, hands folded in her lap. For a long time, neither spoke. Then Nathan leaned forward. "I need to know what really happened." "All of it." Ramona lowered at him with tired eyes. "You think you're the first to ask?" "I think I'm the first who won't stop." She gave a small, humorless laugh. "You sound like her." "Then help me honor her." Ramona lowed away. "Isabella was one of the best I ever hired. Quiet, hard-working, never complained no matter what they asked her to do, but she was scared, always looking over her shoulder, always worried someone would come for the baby." Nathan's jaw tightened. "Why?" "Because of him. Judge Reinsfield. He had her cornered, offered her protection if she obeyed, threatened her if she didn't." Nathan's voice was ice. "Protection from what?" "From the courts, from being deported, from losing her child." Ramona leaned closer. "He had connections, you understand. He could make things disappear. He did make things disappear." "And Lily?" Ramona lowered down. "She was his bargaining chip." Nathan froze. "What do you mean?" "He told Isabella that if she made trouble, if she talked to you or tried to fight, he'd take Lily, that the girl didn't need her, that he had plans for her future." Nathan stood abruptly. "He wanted custody?" Ramona nodded. "Not officially, not on paper, but I think he wanted control, power, maybe even atonement. I don't know. All I know is he visited the estate often, more than he should have, and he always paid extra when Isabella was working." Nathan's skin crawled. "Did she tell you this?" "She confided in me once, right before she got sick, said she was afraid he'd take Lily if she died, that she had no one left to trust." Nathan's fists clenched. "Why didn't you do something?" "I tried," Ramona snapped. "I called shelters, lawyers. No one listened. They said she wasn't the mother, that she had no proof. Rainsfield made sure of that." Nathan sat down heavily. "She died in her room, alone, fevered. She made me promise to keep Lily safe, but the girl disappeared the next day. I thought she was taken. I thought he finally did it." Nathan stared at her, heart pounding. "But now you're telling me she survived," Ramona said softly. "She's really alive?" "Yes. And you're sure she's yours?" "I know it," She looks like Isabella. She has the birthmark. And I feel it. Ramona studied him a long moment. There's one more thing, she said finally. Before she died, Isabella gave me a box. Told me to keep it hidden, said it held the truth. Where is it? Nathan asked. Ramona stood. In the attic. Nathan followed Ramona up the narrow staircase, each step creaking beneath their weight. The air grew heavier as they ascended, thick with years of dust and unspent secrets. At the top, Ramona pushed open the attic door, revealing a space cluttered with boxes, trunks, and forgotten furniture, shrouded in old blankets. A single bulb swung overhead, casting long shadows. She walked slowly toward a corner, crouched and pulled out a small wooden chest. It was worn, the corners frayed, but it was clearly something cherished. She ran her fingers over it before lifting it carefully. This is it, she whispered. She said if anything ever happened to her and if Lily was ever found, this box would explain why. Nathan reached for it. His hands trembled as he took it from her. The latch clicked open, and he lifted the lid. Inside was a stack of documents, a few photographs, and a small velvet pouch. The first thing he pulled out was a photo of Isabella holding a newborn wrapped in a pink blanket. Her eyes were puffy but smiling. There, clearly visible, was the crescent-shaped birthmark on the baby's collarbone. He swallowed, overcome. Beneath the photo was a birth certificate. Lily Marin Caldwell. Mother, Isabella Marin. Father, unknown. His brow furrowed. Why did she leave my name off? Protection, Ramona said softly. She knew if your name was there, Rhinesfield would target you too. He kept reading. There were notes, letters Isabella had written but never sent, torn pages from a journal, records of doctor visits, some paid in cash, and then tucked in the back a single sealed envelope marked, "Private for Nathan only." He opened it with care. Inside was a DNA test, 2 samples, one labeled Isabella Marin, the other Eugene Rhinesfield. Positive match, 99.9% probability. Biological father of subject, Lily Marin. Nathan's heart stopped. He felt dizzy, as if the air had been sucked from the room. He sat down heavily on an old trunk, the paper trembling in his hands. He lied to both of us, he whispered. He told me she left. He told her I was dangerous. He pushed her into silence and fear, and then he fathered her child. Ramona didn't speak. There was nothing to say. Nathan stood abruptly. I need to take this. Ramona nodded. Do what she couldn't. I will, he said. I swear it. As he stepped back down the attic stairs, the box clutched tightly in his arms. A storm brewed inside him, not just of grief, but of resolve. He would expose Rhinesfield. He would drag the truth into the light, no matter how many names it burned along the way. But when he returned to the penthouse that evening, the lights were off, the door was ajar, and Lily was gone. Nathan's breath caught in his chest as he stood in the doorway, the silence inside the penthouse louder than any scream. He dropped the box onto the console table and rushed in, calling out her name. Lily. No answer. He tore through the living room, the kitchen, her temporary bedroom. The blanket she had napped under was crumpled on the floor. Her drawing of the stars of him was still taped to the wall. But she was gone. Panic began to rise like a tidal wave. He checked the terrace, empty. Then the bathrooms, closets, utility rooms, every inch of the place. Nothing. He grabbed his phone and dialed the housekeeper. She was gone when I got back, she said shakily. The door was open. I thought maybe you had taken her somewhere. I didn't, Nathan snapped. Did you see anyone? No, nothing. I only stepped out to get groceries. It was just 20 minutes. His hands were shaking. He ended the call and immediately phoned the building's security. I want every camera checked. Every exit, every elevator, someone to her. The guard on the line hesitated. Sir, we already flagged something. You might want to come to the security office. 10 minutes later, Nathan stood in front of a monitor, his chest heaving as footage played. Lily, holding a stuffed rabbit he hadn't seen before, walking calmly into the elevator. Alone. Timestamp, 22 minutes ago. Next clip, she's in the lobby, lowing around. Then a man appears, hooded, tall. He leans down. Says something to her, she nods, takes his hand. They walk out together. Nathan pointed. Freeze it. Zoom in. The grainy image revealed a partial face, not clear, but enough to see a jagged scar across the chin, and something else. He was holding a cane. Nathan's stomach flipped. It was the same man from the street, the one who had claimed to be her guardian, the one he had paid off. How the hell did he get in the building? Nathan barked. He used a service entrance. Tailgated one of the food delivery staff. Nathan felt his rage ignite. That man is dangerous. Find him. Find out where he went. I want every street cam, every license plate near that door tracked. The guard nodded. Nathan paced, mind spinning. He thought he had time. He thought Lily was safe. But the moment he started pulling at the threads of the past, the enemy struck back. Back in the penthouse, he opened the box again, dug deeper. At the bottom was a worn notebook, half filled. Isabella's handwriting filled the pages. One entry caught his eye. If anything happens to me, he'll come for her. He says she's his redemption, but he doesn't love her. He wants control. If he ever finds us... The rest was smeared. Nathan pressed his hand to the page, furious tears in his eyes. He had to find her. He wasn't going to let Rhinesfield or anyone erase Lily again. Then his phone rang. Blocked number. He answered. A voice, cold and calm. If you want her back, stop digging. Nathan's grip tightened on the phone. Every muscle in his body wound tight. Where is she? He demanded, his voice shaking with fury. The caller remained calm. She's safe. For now. If you hurt her. We don't want to hurt her. But if you keep pushing, if you keep making noise, things might change. Nathan paced the penthouse like a caged animal. What do you want? We want silence, the voice said simply. Forget the judge. Forget Isabella. Forget what you think you know. Or Lily disappears for good this time. Nathan's jaw clenched. Let me talk to her. I need proof she's alive. There was a pause, then the faintest rustle, and a small, trembling voice on the line. Daddy? Nathan's heart breathed open. Lily, baby, are you A? Are you hurt? I'm scared, she whispered. I know. I'm coming for you. I promise. Before he could say more, the line went dead. He stood there, phone still pressed to his ear, rage and helplessness battling inside him. They had her. They had his daughter, and now they wanted to bury everything. He rushed back to the box, grabbed the documents, the DNA test, the journal pages. He spread them across the table like a detective chasing a ghost. If they thought fear would stop him, they didn't know who they were dealing with. He opened his laptop, typed quickly. Emails to journalists, lawyers, trusted friends. He began uploading copies of the evidence, attaching notes, writing out the story Isabella never got to tell. Next, he called the PI. She's gone. They to her. Jesus, they called. Threatened me. I need eyes on every possible Rainsfield property. Private estates, shell companies, anything. I'll mobilize now. We'll find her. Nathan didn't stop. He called Olivia, told her everything. She must have predicted this, Olivia whispered. That's why she left the box. She knew he'd come, Nathan said. She knew he'd never stop. He lowed at the burning skyline outside. Night had fully fallen, the city flickering like stars trembling in fear. Somewhere out there Lily was trapped, and he had to get her back. He stared again at Isabella's final words in the journal. He says she's his redemption. What did that mean? Why would a man like Rhinesfield see Lily as redemption? Unless it wasn't just about control. Maybe it was legacy, guilt, image. Maybe he wanted Lily to replace what he had destroyed. Nathan shuddered. He remembered how Rainsfield had spent in court years ago, about morality, about correcting the mistakes of Bren families. Had he believed he was saving her by taking her? No, he was owning her. But Nathan wasn't going to let that happen. He packed a duffel bag with the files, a gun from his safe, cash, burner phones. He was done waiting. Then the building intercom buzzed. "Mr. Caldwell," the guard said, "there's someone here to see you. Says she knows where your daughter is." Nathan's eyes narrowed. "Who?" "Her name is Ramona." Ramona stood in the marble lobby of Caldwell Tower, her coat drenched from rain, her face pale but determined. Nathan met her at the elevator, barely giving her time to speak before ushering her inside and pressing the button to the penthouse. "You said you know where she is," he said tightly. "I don't know exactly," Ramona replied, "but I know where they would take her." Nathan turned sharply. "They?" Ramona nodded. "It's not just Rhinesfield. He's part of a network. Judges, donors, men who hide behind charities and family courts. They call it a reform foundation, but it's a cover. They take children under the guise of protection and reshape their identities." Nathan's stomach twisted. "What does that mean?" "It means they disappear them," she said grimly. "New names, new lives, no past." The elevator opened into his penthouse. Ramona stepped out and paused at the sight of the scattered documents. "You've found more than I thought." "I have enough to bury him," Nathan said, "but I need Lily first." Ramona nodded. "There's a private property, north of Sleepy Hollow. Rhinesfield has used it before. It's quiet, secluded. No official records." Nathan grabbed the map from his desk. "Mark it." She did, tracing her finger along a crowed road just past a wooded area. "There, it looks like a retreat, but I've seen the vans come and go. They don't bring kids back out." Nathan's eyes burned with fury. "Then that's where I'm going. I'm coming with you." "No," he said sharply. "It's too dangerous." She stepped in front of him. "Nathan, I couldn't save Isabella. I failed her. I won't fail Lily, too." He hesitated. Ramona placed a hand over his. "You'll need someone who knows the place, and I know where they hide the children." He nodded reluctantly. "Then we move fast." They packed what they needed: flashlights, burner phones, copies of the files. Nathan left the originals in a locked briefcase, set to be sent to the media if anything happened to him. As they stepped out into the rainy night, Nathan glanced back at the penthouse one last time. "This ends tonight," he said. 2 hours later, they pulled up outside a rusted gate overgrown with ivy. The estate beyond was dark, silent, flanked by woods. An old mansion loomed at the center of the property like a forgotten relic of power. Nathan peered through binoculars. No visible guards. "One van, lights on inside," Ramona pointed. "They keep the kids in the west wing. There's a basement access, through the greenhouse." Nathan nodded. "We go in quiet. Get Lily. Get out." But as they crept through the trees, movement caught Nathan's eye. A silhouette in the upstairs window, small, frightened. Lily. He moved faster, heart pounding, until they reached the glass structure near the side of the mansion. Ramona found the rusted latch and slid it open. As they stepped inside, the distant creak of footsteps echoed down the hallway beyond the greenhouse. Then a voice rang out. "I knew you'd come for her, Caldwell." Nathan turned toward the shadows, and there he was. Judge Rhinesfield. Rhinesfield emerged slowly from the corridor, dressed in a black overcoat, leaning on the same polished cane Nathan remembered from the courtroom years ago. His hair was grayer now, but his eyes, sharp, cold, hadn't changed. They gleamed with smug control, the gaze of a man used to winning. Nathan stepped forward, fists clenched. "Where is she?" Rhinesfield smiled faintly. "Safe. Unlike you." Ramona moved beside Nathan, her voice cold. "You're done hiding behind robes and power. We have proof of everything." The judge's expression didn't falter. "Proof? Of what? An unfortunate story? A desperate woman's accusations? A child born under questionable circumstances? Who do you think they'll believe, me or the man who was once publicly accused of emotional instability in a custody hearing? Nathan bristled. That hearing was your lie. Yes, Rainsfield said casually. And it worked, didn't it? Because I knew men like you. Obsessed with control, with legacy. You didn't deserve her, and you certainly don't deserve Lily. She's not yours, Nathan growled. Rainsfield raised an eyebrow. Isn't she? Biologically, she's both of ours, but I was the one who protected her. I gave her mother shelter. I made sure Lily would be raised free from the chaos of your world. You trapped Isabella, Ramona snapped. You blackmailed her. You controlled every part of her life until she died. And yet, Rainsfield said, stepping closer, she never exposed me. Why do you think that is? Nathan stepped forward. Because she was terrified. Because she knew what men like you do to people who speak out. Rainsfield's face darkened. You can't save her now. She's not some lost street orphan anymore. She's property, legally rehomed through our foundation. Her name is different, her file is sealed. Nathan's voice was steel. Then unseal it. Bring her here, right now. Rainsfield smirked. You don't give orders here. Ramona pulled out her phone. If we don't walk out with her in 10 minutes, every news outlet in the city gets what's on this drive. Birth certificate, DNA test, journal, your name attached to a secret child and a buried mistress. The judge's eyes flared, but his tone stayed smooth. That would be unwise. I still know people, powerful people. You think exposing me will protect her? It will destroy her. Nathan stepped closer, their faces inches apart now. No, it will destroy you. And I'll burn everything down to find her. Rainsfield studied him for a long, quiet moment. Then he stepped back, motioned with his hand. From the corridor, two men emerged, and between them, small and silent, Lily. She was wearing different clothes now. Her hair was braided, but her eyes, wide with fear, found Nathan instantly. Daddy! Nathan surged forward, but one of the men blocked him. Let her go, he barked. Rainsfield raised a hand. You want her? Fine. But there's a cost. Ramona stepped forward. What cost? Rainsfield's smile turned cold. You walk away, you disappear, you never mention me again, or the girl never leaves this house. For a moment, the entire world seemed to hold its breath. Nathan stared at Rainsfield, the words echoing in his mind like the final blow of a gavel. Walk away. Never mention him again. Give up justice, the truth, everything Isabella had sacrificed for, in exchange for one thing, Lily. Behind the two men, she clung to her stuffed rabbit, eyes wide and tearful. Her lips quivered, but she didn't cry. She was trying to be brave, just like her mother. Nathan's jaw clenched. You're threatening the life of a child to protect your name. Rainsfield's voice was calm, smug. You think the world wants another scandal? A revered judge exposed for a moral lapse over 2 decades old? The press will tear her apart, not me. You know that. She's 6 years old, Ramona said, trembling. She's not a secret, she's a person, a little girl. She's leverage, Rainsfield said coldly, and I won't have her used to ruin me. Nathan slowly raised his hands in surrender, chest heaving. Let me talk to her. Rainsfield studied him, then gestured to the men. Lily was pushed gently forward. She ran into Nathan's arms the moment she reached him, clinging tight, her tiny body shaking. I was so scared, she whispered. I know, sweetheart. I'm here now. I'm going to get you out. She looked up at him, eyes searching his. He said you wouldn't come. Nathan kissed the top of her head. He was wrong. Rainsfield's voice interrupted. This is your moment, Caldwell. You have her. You walk, or I make a single call, and she disappears into the system again. Nathan held Lily tighter, his mind racing. He needed a way out, a way to get her to safety and still take Rainsfield down. He couldn't trust the man. If he left now, what guarantee did he have that Rainsfield wouldn't come for her again? That he wouldn't erase both of them next time? Ramona's voice breathed into the tension. What if there's a third option? Rainsfield turned. Excuse me? She pulled a second phone from her coat. "This entire conversation has been streamed live." Rainsfield went still. Nathan blinked, stunned. Ramona stepped beside him, holding the phone up. "To a private news outlet. Pre-agreed time. Pre-agreed fail-safe. The truth is out. Right now." Rainsfield's face cracked, rage, disbelief, panic all flashing across it. "You stupid. Do you know what you've done?" "I've ended your career," she said, "and your control." The two men who had brought Lily forward lowered at each other, then back at the judge. One of them to a step back. "You think anyone's going to believe you?" Rainsfield growled. "Without evidence?" Nathan stood slowly. "We have it. Everything. The tests, the journals, your visits. And now, your voice, threatening a child's life on video." Rainsfield surged forward, but the bodyguard blocked him. "You're done," Nathan said. For the first time, Rainsfield lowed, afraid. Nathan scooped Lily into his arms. "We're leaving," he said. "And if you ever come near her again, I'll make sure prison is the least of your worries." And with Ramona beside him, Nathan turned his back on the judge who once ruled his fate and walked toward the future he was finally ready to claim. The cold night air wrapped around them as Nathan carried Lily through the overgrown gardens and back to the car parked near the gate. Ramona walked beside him, checking over her shoulder every few seconds, expecting Rainsfield to send someone after them. But no one came. The estate remained eerily quiet behind them, like a tomb finally sealed. Nathan gently placed Lily into the back seat of the car and buckled her in. She looked up at him, her face pale and tired, but calm. "Is he gone now?" she asked softly. He met her gaze. "Yes. He'll never hurt you again." Ramona climbed into the passenger seat while Nathan to the wheel, his hands trembling slightly as he turned the key. The engine hummed to life, and they pulled away from the darkness of that house, away from years of secrets and manipulation. As the car sped down the winding road, Nathan glanced at Lily in the rearview mirror. "Are you A?" She nodded slowly, gripping her rabbit tight. "You came for me. I always will." She smiled, faint but full of trust. Back in the city, the penthouse was a safe harbor glowing with warmth. Nathan carried Lily up the elevator, her head resting on his shoulder. Ramona followed, exhausted but relieved. Inside, they wrapped Lily in a blanket and gave her warm milk. She curled up on the couch and drifted into sleep, almost instantly. Nathan stood watching her, hands on his hips, silent. Ramona joined him. "She's going to need time. I'll give her all of it." "You're not done," she said. "Rainsfield may be exposed, but men like him don't fall quietly. He'll try to twist this." "I'm ready," Nathan said. "Let him." He walked to his study and began uploading the rest of the evidence, video, audio, documents, to secure digital storage. Then he scheduled press releases, sent encrypted packages to lawyers, and arranged interviews with trusted reporters. By dawn, the story was spreading. Retired judge accused of coercion and concealment in secret custody case. Leaked recordings reveal blackmail threats. Mystery child found at private estate, linked to family reform network. Nathan turned off the monitor and walked back to the living room. Lily was awake again, blinking at him from the couch. "Where's Mommy?" she asked quietly. He knelt in front of her. "She's not here anymore. But she loved you, very much." "Did she love you too?" "Yes," he said, voice cracking. "More than anything?" Lily nodded. "I think I remember her singing about the stars." Nathan smiled gently. "She said you'd remember." Lily reached into her blanket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. "This was in my pocket when he to me." Nathan opened it slowly. It was written in Isabella's handwriting. "If anything happens to me, follow the stars. Nathan will find you." He swallowed hard. "She knew," Ramona whispered behind him. "She trusted me," he said. "Even when I didn't trust myself." They sat together, the three of them, as the first sunlight streamed through the windows. A new day had begun. But just as Nathan began to feel a sense of calm return, his phone buzzed. A new message, unknown number. You think it's over. It's not. She's not the only one. Nathan stared at the message on his screen, heart pounding all over again. She's not the only one. He turned the phone to Ramona. She read it quickly, her expression darkening. They're not done. Nathan stood, his body tense. What does it mean? She's not the only one? Are there other children? Ramona slowly sat down, her voice low. I never knew for sure, but I always suspected. Suspected what? That Rainsfield's operation wasn't limited to Lily. Over the years, I saw records, odd names, missing kids on intake forms, children with no birth certificates. Too many of them came in and never came out. Nathan felt cold. You think this is bigger than Lily? I think Lily was just the beginning, she said. Or maybe the one mistake they couldn't bury. He lowered toward the couch where Lily slept, her tiny form rising and falling with each breath. The thought of more children, trapped, hidden, used as pawns, lit something in him, a fire he couldn't ignore. I need names, he said. Anyone who worked with Rainsfield, anyone who might know what else he's done. Ramona hesitated, then reached into her bag and handed him a flash drive. I saved this years ago. Thought it was nothing. But now? He plugged it into his laptop. Files loaded. Spreadsheets, emails, memos. One caught his eye. Rehoming Strategy 2020. It listed child IDs, locations, and assigned mentors. Dozens of names, dozens of kids. His stomach turned. This is a trafficking ring, he whispered. Hiding behind fake court orders, custody rulings, reform rhetoric. He's not just a monster, he's part of a network. Ramona's voice show, and they'll kill to keep it quiet. Nathan stood. Then we make it loud. He spent the next 2 hours sending the flash drive to every major news outlet, whistleblower network, and law enforcement contact he had. By morning, the media storm that had started the night before would triple in size. They wouldn't be able to hide anymore. Not Rainsfield. Not anyone who stood with him. By sunrise, Nathan's inbox overflowed. Journalists requesting interviews, federal agents asking for meetings, parents claiming lost children who matched the profiles on the list. One email stood out. Subject, I know where the others are. Sender, Sarah. letsandjusticewatch.org. He opened it. Mr. Caldwell, I've been following your case closely. I'm a federal investigator embedded in a task force targeting judicial corruption and illegal custodial transfers. I believe your daughter's story has cracked something much larger. Meet me. I have names, locations, and a list of children still unaccounted for. We have a chance to take them all down, but we need to move fast. Nathan lowered at Ramona. There are more kids, she nodded. Then we're not done. He walked back to the couch and knelt beside Lily. She stirred slightly, her small hand reaching for his. He squeezed it gently. You saved me, she murmured sleepily. He smiled. And now we're going to save them. But deep down, he knew. Rainsfield was just the beginning. The real war was still coming. The morning news cycle exploded. Every major network carried some version of the story. High-profile judge at center of child custody scandal. Secret network of judicial abuses uncovered. Caldwell whistleblower leak triggers federal investigation. Nathan stood in front of the wall of monitors in his study, watching as image after image of Rainsfield's estate, court transcripts, and grainy footage of Lily flashed across the screens. Commentators speculated, activists demanded justice, and families around the country began to call in, claiming connections to the mysterious list Ramona had handed over. The world was finally listening. But none of that mattered without action. He closed his laptop to one final low at the emails pouring in, then turned to Ramona. It's time. She nodded, already holding the address Sarah Letson had sent. A small anonymous office space in Lower Manhattan, hidden behind a charity front called Justice Watch. There, the woman who claimed to have infiltrated the network waited to hand over everything. Nathan kissed Lily's forehead gently as she slept, then whispered to the housekeeper to stay close. Don't let anyone in who isn't me. No one. Then he and Ramona disappeared into the city. The building was plain, nondescript. A grey facade with no logo, no reception desk, just a locked metal door and a single buzzer. Nathan pressed it once. A voice crackled through the speaker. "Mr. Caldwell?" "Yes." The door clicked open. Inside, the air was thick with anticipation. A woman stood by the window, blonde hair tied in a tight braid, laptop under her arm. She lowered up as they entered. "I'm Sarah Letson." "Talk," Nathan said. Sarah nodded and motioned to a small round table. "I've been investigating judicial corruption for 6 years, foster care fraud, rehoming scandals. But this is different. Your daughter's case helped expose the final layer." She opened her laptop and brought up a map. Red dots lit up across the screen. Each one was a site linked to Rainsfield's associates, judges, lawyers, fake family counselors, and private estates used to transition children out of public view. "We believe at least 47 minors were taken over the last 12 years under false court orders," Sarah said. "Some were never found. Some, we fear, may not have survived." Nathan's stomach turned. "But there's good news," she continued. "We've tracked 3 active locations. One of them is less than an hour from the city, a warehouse. Paper trail links it to Rainsfield's legal partner." Ramona leaned forward. "And the children?" Sarah hesitated. "We believe there are 5 there now." "Still alive?" Nathan stood, his voice firm. "Then we go get them." Sarah grabbed his arm. "You can't. Not without a warrant. We're coordinating with federal agents, but you can't take matters into your own hands." Nathan's expression hardened. "I've already lost 6 years. I'm not losing another second." She lowered into his eyes and realized he wasn't just a grieving father anymore. He was a man on a mission. Sarah hesitated, then exhaled sharply. "If you're going, you'll need this." She slid a small flash drive across the table. Floor plans of the warehouse, camera placements, guard rotation. What little we know, be careful. They may low-like staff, but these men aren't afraid to silence witnesses. Nathan to the drive, already pulling out his phone to forward the files to his private server. "How long until the federal team moves in?" "Officially, 48 hours. I'm going in now." Ramona stood as well. "I'm not letting you do this alone." Nathan turned to Sarah. "If we're not back by morning, release everything, all of it, and tell Lily the truth." Sarah nodded solemnly. "Good luck." Within the hour, Nathan and Ramona arrived on the outskirts of the industrial zone in Yonkers. The warehouse looked abandoned from the outside, graffiti-covered walls, Bren security lights, weeds crawling through cracks in the pavement. But beneath the facade, surveillance cameras still tracked every angle, and an SUV idled near the back entrance. Nathan checked the flash drive against the building. The western service door closest to the back stairwell had the least coverage. They moved quickly. Ramona picked the lock with practiced precision, and they slipped inside. The interior was dimly lit, the sound of a distant radio echoing down metal corridors. Boxes marked supplies lined the walls, but when Nathan cracked one open, he found children's toys, school bows, and unmarked pill bottles. His jaw tightened. They followed the corridor to a set of heavy double doors. From beyond them came voices, men laughing, a faint humming, and something else, the soft murmur of children. Nathan lowered at Ramona, then reached for the latch. The door creaked open to reveal a makeshift dormitory, 5 cots, a small play area, and a security camera blinking silently from the corner. A man in a blue shirt turned toward them, then froze. Nathan didn't wait. He moved fast, tackling the guard to the floor as Ramona shut the door behind them. The man struggled, but Nathan pinned him, whispering low, "Yell and I break your neck." The man nodded quickly, and Nathan reached into his coat, showing the gun he hadn't drawn yet. 3 of the children sat on the far side of the room, eyes wide with fear. One of them, barely older than Lily, whimpered and started to cry. Ramona moved toward them, hands raised. "It's I. We're here to help." The other two guards were still at the far end of the warehouse, per the rotation notes Sarah provided. They had minutes, maybe less. Nathan turned to the man beneath him. "How many more kids are here?" The man stammered. "Just these 5. The others were moved last week, to the Rainsfield property in Maryland." Nathan's blood ran cold. "And who runs this site?" "His partner, Richard Vane." Nathan lowed to Ramona. "We get these kids out. Then we go to Maryland." But before he could move, a shot rang out. Glass shattered overhead. Someone had seen them. Nathan dove to shield the children as another shot cracked through the air, splintering a light fixture and plunging the dormitory into a strobe of flickering chaos. Ramona ducked low, grabbing one of the trembling kids by the hand and pulling them behind a stack of crates. "Move!" Nathan shouted to the others, his voice cutting through the noise like a whip. "Stay down. Crawl toward the door." The children obeyed without hesitation, scurrying toward the corner where Ramona was already guiding the first boy out a side passage. Nathan dragged the subdued guard behind him, using the man's body as partial cover as more gunfire ricocheted off metal and stone. They reached the storage corridor, just as 2 more guards barreled in from the far end, weapons drawn. Nathan pushed the kids behind a metal rack and fired once, clean, controlled, forcing the men to duck. "I thought you said they weren't killers," he shouted to Ramona. "They weren't supposed to be," she yelled back. "Something's changed." Nathan pulled Ramona behind cover, whispering harshly, "They're not trying to scare us anymore. They're trying to erase us." Ramona's jaw tightened. "Then we don't give them the chance." Together they moved. Nathan covered their exit with precision, drawing the fire away from the children, while Ramona hustled each one out the emergency stairwell. They burst onto the alley just as sirens screamed in the distance. Someone had triggered an alarm. Maybe Sarah. Maybe one of the guards panicked. Either way, help was finally coming. They piled the children into the back of Nathan's car, already prepped with blankets and water. He slammed the door shut and turned to Ramona. "Drive. Get them to the safe house. I'll stay behind and hold them off if I have to." She grabbed his arm. "You're not dying in some alley. Get in." He hesitated, but then climbed in beside her. As they peeled out of the parking lot, police cruisers tore around the corner. Ramona didn't stop. She turned down a side street, then another, weaving through the city like someone born to run. The kids remained silent, eyes wide, hands clutched together like they were still waiting for someone to yell, to punish, to take them back. Nathan turned in his seat and lowed at them. "You're safe now. No one's going to hurt you again." A small voice from the back. "Are you taking us home?" Nathan didn't blink. "Yes, we're taking you all home." They reached the safe house, an unmarked apartment guarded by trusted federal agents that Sarah had arranged. Nathan and Ramona walked the kids inside, staying with them until each one was wrapped in warmth, offered food, gently spent to. Then Nathan stepped outside and called Sarah. "They were armed," he said. "They weren't trying to scare us. They were cleaning up loose ends." Sarah's voice was grim. "Vane just vanished, but we got a subpoena issued for Rainsfield. The agents at his Maryland estate are moving in now." Nathan's voice was low. "I'm going with them." He hung up and turned to Ramona. "You coming?" Her answer was simple. "Always." The black SUV tore down the interstate under cover of dusk, headlights slicing through the fading light as Nathan sat in the back seat, staring at the screen of his tablet. A live drone feed hovered above Rainsfield's Maryland estate, an expansive colonial-style property nestled deep in a wooded valley surrounded by high fencing and private security. 4 heat signatures in the main house, said the federal agent driving. 3 in the outbuildings. No sign of Vane. Where's Rainsfield? Nathan asked. The agent nodded toward the central wing. Top floor, south corner. Same room listed in his sealed appointment logs. Nathan's jaw tensed. That's where he keeps them, isn't it? Likely, but we wait for the signal. SWAT's staging a perimeter breach. You'll go in once we've secured the front. Nathan turned to Ramona beside him. Once we're inside, I go to the children. You find Vane. He's the last thread. She gave a single nod, her face like carved stone. 20 minutes later, the SUV came to a quiet halt, half a mile from the property. They hiked the rest of the way through the trees, moving with practiced silence. Then, at exactly 7:13 p.m., a deafening pop shattered the quiet, a flashbang. The estate's front windows lit up as tactical teams stormed the grounds. Nathan and Ramona followed through the breach, weaving between chaos and shouts. They breathed into the side wing, navigating dark, narrow corridors. Nathan moved like a man possessed, ignoring the dust, the cobwebs, the muffled cries echoing from beneath the floorboards. Then he found the door, a reinforced steel panel, bolted from the outside. He ripped it open. Inside was a room filled with beds. Too many. Children of all ages huddled in corners, eyes sunken, pale with fear. A single woman sat in the corner, trembling, whispering, "They said you'd never come." Nathan knelt. "You're safe now, I promise." He motioned to the agents behind him. "Secure every child, get them medical care, no one gets left behind." He was about to move when a young girl tugged at his sleeve. He said, "There were more, underground." Nathan's blood ran cold. He turned and sprinted back into the hall, barking into the comm. "I need backup. There's a second holding area. Basement level." Meanwhile, Ramona descended a different corridor, weapon drawn. She kicked open a door and found him, Richard Vane, pale and sweating, shredding documents in a panic. She didn't wait. Gun raised, she said, "Move away from the files." Vane lowered up, stunned. "You?" Ramona stepped closer. "I warned you. When you to Isabella, I told you I'd come for the rest." Vane sneered. She was weak. She wanted to be saved. "No," Ramona whispered. "You made her weak." Then she fired, once, into the wall beside his head. He screamed, falling to the ground. Agents swarmed in, cuffing him, reading him his rights. Back in the basement, Nathan found them, 4 more children, locked behind iron bars like animals. He breathed the chains himself, trembling as they stepped into the light. "You're free," he whispered. Outside, the night sky pulsed with the roar of helicopters, sirens and justice long overdue. Sunrise painted the horizon in quiet gold as Nathan stood outside the Maryland estate, the chill of morning wind brushing against his face. Behind him, dozens of children were being loaded into warm vans bound for safety, some silent, some crying, some clinging to federal agents like lifelines. What had begun as a single rescue had turned into the unearthing of a national scandal. And still, Nathan felt no victory. Not yet. Ramona joined him, her coat stained with dust and smee. "Vane's in custody. He's already talking." "About Rainsfield?" "About all of them." Nathan closed his eyes. The network they had uncovered, judges, lawyers, foster organizations, private estates, it was worse than he'd imagined. But the dam had finally cracked, and it had all started with one little girl. He pulled out his phone and dialed the number he now knew by heart. Lily answered on the second ring. "Daddy?" His throat tightened. "Hi, sweetheart. I'm on my way home." There was a pause, then her quiet voice. "Did you find more stars?" He smiled faintly. "Yeah, and we brought them back." When he returned to the penthouse that afternoon, Lily ran into his arms the moment the door opened. She hugged him so tightly he nearly fell back. "I missed you," she whispered. "I missed you more," he said, "and I'm never leaving again." Ramona stepped in behind him, and Lily reached up to hug her too. "You helped him?" "I did." "Then your family?" Ramona's eyes welled up. Later that night, Nathan sat with Lily on the rooftop terrace, wrapped in a blanket under a sky full of stars. She pointed upward. "Mommy said the stars are always watching." "She was right," Nathan said. "She's one of them now." Lily leaned against him. "Can we help more kids?" He kissed the top of her head. "That's the plan." A week later, the headlines reached their peak. Federal probe expands. Caldwell's whistleblower files lead to dozens of arrests. Rainsfield indicted. Secret network of judicial abuse exposed. Survivors of custody scandal begin new lives. But for Nathan, the real moment came in a quiet courtroom as he stood before a judge, not one tied to power or corruption, but a woman with tears in her eyes as she read the final adoption decree aloud. "Mr. Caldwell, by this court's order, you are now and forever the legal guardian and father of Lily Marin Caldwell." Lily squeezed his hand so hard it hurt. When they left the courthouse, reporters swarmed, lights flashed, questions flew, but Nathan only lifted his daughter into his arms. "She's home," he said. "That's all that matters." As they drove away, Lily reached into her backpack and handed him a folded piece of paper, her newest drawing. This time, the stars weren't alone. There were others, children in the sky, smiling. Beneath them, a man stood with open arms, and in his hands he held every one of them. Safe. Finally safe.